This is not Spyro. Thanks Activision for again ruining a great series. If a series is doing good, leave it alone and don't touch it. Keep your grubby nasty fingers away from Ratchet and Clank, Sly, and Ty. You guys killed Spyro. Legend of Spyro was one thing, but Skylanders goes over the limit.
Matter of principle, and I'll tell you. You are the single biggest liar. You are the single biggest liar.
All right.
This guy lied. Let me just tell you, this guy lied. This guy will say anything. Nasty guy. He's a nasty guy.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at bad Skylanders reviews. Well, basically, I went to Metacritic, and all these reviews are from Metacritic. That's why in the little intro thing, whatever, it says Metacritic. They're all from Metacritic, and these are all reviews that I thought were pretty funny. And we're going to look at them, go over them. I want to say why I think they're wrong, or sometimes in some aspects why I think they might be right. But let's get right into it. This is not Spyro. Thanks Activision again for ruining a great series. If a series is doing good, leave it alone. Don't touch it. Keep your grubby nasty fingers away from Ratchet and Clank, Sly and Ty. You guys killed Spyro. Legend of Spyro was one thing, but Skylanders goes over the limit. Okay buddy, so first of all this, you can tell that a guy who loves Spyro, a Spyro fanboy, made this. You can also tell that this is Spyro by looking at the name of the game. It's called Spyro's Adventure, so it is Spyro. Also, you say that Spyro series was doing well at the time, and you have to be lying to yourself because the last 3 games of Spyro, the Legend of Spyro series, sold 5 million copies between those 3 games, while the first game sold 4 million by itself, and the Legend of Spyro series was pretty hated among fans. And Skylanders Spyro's Adventure, the game that you despise, guess what? Sold 5 million copies its first game. So Spyro really doing well at the time is an absolute lie. Also, he goes with the good old Skylanders killed Spyro. So you're telling me that Spyro, a dying franchise, was killed by Skylanders, a new series that had Spyro in it and sold better than almost every other Spyro game. While yes, I do agree that they probably used Spyro as a marketing tool, Spyro was not the main focus of the game either, but while Spyro remained relevant, Crash Bandicoot laid in obscurity for a while, but Spyro stayed relevant thanks to Skylanders. This game is the worst game I've ever played. This is one, not Spyro. They only used the name to sell. They should have left Spyro alone and started a new IP, but no, they yet again gotta ruin the Spyro name. Why don't they learn back and go to the original Spyro that always got good reviews? Not Enter the Dragonfly though. Are you sure this is the worst game you've ever played? Really? And while I do agree to some extent that they probably use Spyro to sell the game, that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I've already explained why I think that is. And also I already said why Skylanders did not ruin Spyro's name. You most likely have the reignited trilogy thanks to Skylanders, so there's that. Then he says, why don't they go learn and go back to the original Spyro series that always got good reviews? Not Enter the Dragonfly though. I love when this happens. Spyro fans are always like, oh yes, Spyro's so epic, but they never want to mention any game after the original 3 games. The Legend series was very mediocre and Enter the Dragonfly was super horrible. Also, nowhere in this review does it say anything about the actual game. He could have actually just looked at the game and not even played the game and made this review because he doesn't say anything about the actual game. They only look at the first 3 games as Spyro, while Skylanders stayed pretty consistent over its 6-game runtime, and like I said, Spyro was really only consistent for 3 games. Once again, Activision has paid all the critics. The truth is that this game sucks, almost as much as Modern Warfare 3. That got really bad reviews from users. Wait, hold up, did it really?
Checks out.
I liked old, I don't know what English this is. I liked old Spyro. If you liked old Spyro, don't even get this. Even the Legend series was better. Dang, comparing Skylanders to Modern Warfare 3? No, you couldn't. And they say that even the Legend series was better. And as a person who's played the Legend of Spyro series, Skylanders is infinitely better than that. Okay, now on to Giants, my 3rd favorite Skylanders game. Let's see what they have to say, and let's see if they even talk about gameplay. Different toys and characters, but otherwise, more of the same. Fun, but very easy, and somewhat disappointing. There are less levels and very easy puzzles compared to the first Skylanders game, so much that my 7-year-old, not a big gamer at all, completed it with his cousins in over 3 days, and asked, was that it? Pales in the comparison to LEGO Batman 2 for the depth of play and lasting enjoyment. which we both still enjoy playing together months later. First of all, have you never played a kids game? Almost every kids game that I've played, I've gotten done in a matter of days. They're not that hard to get through. That's just how kid games are. This guy even said that the game was fun, but it still gave it a bad score. And while I agree the puzzles aren't the most best thing from the game, its main focus isn't the puzzles, its main focus is the gameplay. Another one where he didn't talk about the gameplay all that much. Yes, there are less levels, but the levels are better and don't repeat in Giants. That's why I overall like it better. Also, you can do battle mode after the game's over, which is endless fun. And I highly doubt that a 7-year-old was able to get all Skylanders Max done in 3 days unless you have like 4 Skylanders. Horrible game, worse than the whole franchise by far. Pros, big giants take a lot of damage. Cons, weak story, horrible graphics, repetitive, boring story. Let's face it, don't buy this game. How is the story weak? First of all, if you are comparing it to other kids games at the time, its story was actually pretty strong. And are you really looking for story in a kids game? I mean, it's cool for story if there'd be a strong story in a kids game, but I really think all the time the gameplay is more important than story. You also say horrible graphics, but the graphics are the same as the first game, and it's repetitive. How? None of the levels repeat like in SSA. None of the levels repeat in this game, and all the levels are pretty unique and cool. Well, I bought this game thinking that it could be fun. While the game is somewhat decent, it really bothers me that Activision keeps pushing people to buy a whole bunch of plastic junk. It's essentially plastic DLC, and it ends up costing even more. So to get the full package, you have to spend hundreds of dollars on a single game. That's just despicable. Now, he does point out a problem with Skylanders as a whole, but never actually really dives into the game that much. He says the gameplay is decent, but he doesn't even talk about the game, more of the marketing. And while, yes, I do agree there are flaws with Skylanders and how it was presented, he never actually talks about the actual game itself. And that makes his review basically pointless. Now on to Swap Force, I could really only find 2 negative reviews. There was not a lot of reviews for Swap Force as a whole. Most of them were just either mediocre or positive. Only 2 negative reviews I could find. I was very disappointed with this new version of Skylanders. I really enjoy Giants, but this version I was very confused and disappointed. The story is the same as Giants, but they changed Giants to Swap Force and called it a new adventure. The new figures are boring and they were released in waves, so you have to wait for the ones you like. Skip it unless you're under 8. I'm very confused how Swap Force and Giants are the same. They are super different. First of all, they have different settings, the story is completely different, and the levels are different, and the graphics are different as well. Everything here is different from Giants. Swap Force is probably the most different game from all the other Skylanders games, actually. And how are the new figures boring? You can swap tops and bottoms, and they're released in waves. Yeah, that's how it's been for every single Skylanders game. Are you new here, pal? Look, every single Skylanders game released in waves. This review is really weird. I don't like Skylanders, and here's why. It's dumb. It's in McDonald's. The ads are stupid. Playing with it just makes me feel like I'm 2 years old. It's money hungry, and the game doesn't come up with any content. Dear children, stop asking for this. So he didn't even read the game. He just said it's dumb, and the ads are stupid, and that it's in McDonald's. I've never seen a review just quite like this. So this review right here is a piece of work. Also, basically every other popular kids game was in McDonald's, was it not? Like, I'm really confused. Now we get to Trap Team with some bad reviews as well. Bought this game for my 8-year-old plus a 10 plus toys. I don't know what that means. Bad choice. 2 weeks and he's bored as heck. Finished the game, maxed out all the characters, and there's nothing else to do. The replayability element is minimal. Nothing more to buy, and he's maxed out money on all his toys. Play the story 3 times. Arenas are repetitive and boring. The so-called secret zones give you rewards that do nothing, i.e. more money. Simply one of the worst thought games for kids ever. Toddlers maybe, but kids are smart. Put some effort into it, Activision. Something of a random level, challenges, adventure modes, more items, something to do with in-game money. 3 stars out of 10, and I'm being generous. For something that burned my pocket like 5 full games. I wish I had not even bought the initial starter pack. While I'll agree that Trap Team's replay value is not as good as the other games, there is still a lot to do. There's Chaos Mode, which you never even talked about, and if you think arenas and repetitives are so boring, like I said, try out Chaos Doom challenges. And he says 3 stars out of 10 on generous. I do agree that Trap Team is probably the most money hungry out of the game, but the levels are so good. How boring really is it? And when he says secret zones, I'm also pretty sure he's talking about dark and light, but he didn't get too much into the actual game. As well, he said that there's not that much you can do after the story, but that's how story games are. Really, after the story, there isn't that much to do. This isn't a Skylanders problem, this is like a kids game problem in general. Games like Spyro, Crash, Skylanders, all of them, once you finish the actual story, unless you're going for 100%, there isn't that much to do. Now on to SuperChargers, and hey, SuperChargers fans, look at that. Oof, is that a 3A? Ouch, that stings, doesn't it? Wow, I know there's a lot of SuperCharger fans who watch this, and you guys know I don't like SuperChargers, so just look at that score for a second. Okay, so the first one I found was actually in Spanish, but after some rough translation, I was able to get it to read. Well, to continue paying more and more to Activision, now apart from few new characters, there are cars every year. It is a fortune. Also, I do not like the idea of vehicles. It does not give the same essence of magic or the originality of the first games. Now, Stealth Elf, she has gone from being a mystical ninja with blades to riding a bladed helicopter and has a weapon that carries a bazooka. You can see what I mean. They are betraying their principles, and it's been expensive for us. Also, online racing is a cheap copy of Mario Kart. They do not innovate at all with the vehicles. It is a cheap excuse. Anyway, Activision, what they're going to do between COD and this, they're only interested in money. Now, I know some of it sounded rough. That's just how it is with translation, but there is a lot of this review which I agree with. Vehicles are not as cool as anything else that Skylanders has brought to the table. Online racing is also not great, but he did not talk about the actual gameplay. And while I do agree that the gameplay is not as good as the other Skylanders games, it still has that good Skylanders gameplay, and he did not talk about the gameplay at all. This review contains spoilers. This game is terrible. Trap Team may be bogus, but this is nothing new. It's Banjo and Kazooie Nuts and Bolts clone. Is that like a racing game from Banjo Kazooie? I don't know. I seriously hate this game. Sadly, brought Donkey Kong and stinking Bowser, man. This is my least favorite Skylanders game ever. Activision never learned from last year's abomination Skylanders Trap Team. Well, yes, I do agree that it's my least favorite game. I can't say anything about Bowser and Donkey Kong since I don't have the Wii U version. This is another review where they don't talk about gameplay at all and just talk about why they hate Skylanders. Why do none of these reviews talk about gameplay? Maybe it's because they're blind and don't want to admit that Skylanders is a good game. Obviously, if you don't think Skylanders is good, that's fine, but you need to actually talk about the gameplay in the reviews. Now we're to Imaginators, my favorite game, which has a higher review score than SuperChargers. How do I like that? American lived in Norway. English is the official second language here. Bought the game and realized it has 5 language options. English isn't one of them. There's no way this is real, right? No way that there's not an English option if English is the official second language in your country. I can't believe that. Also, just because it doesn't speak English, language isn't like the most important thing in games, it's the gameplay. Instant 0 on Metacritic, doesn't have English. Violent game, too much fighting. Okay, stop. Did this guy just say too violent for a kid's game? This is Skylanders Imaginators, whatever. Violent game, too much fighting, not for under 6 age children. Easy level, very difficult, not for earlier gamers. Okay, wait, what? Beautiful environment, nice music. Fun, funny Imaginator characters can be built and given build parts, boards, best part of the creation. This sounds like it was made by a 5-year-old. Overall, very disappointed with how difficult the game is to play and how rewards are wrapped all around characters. This is time while created figures are not allowed into special access points. Yeah, those are the sensei parts. Are you what? I don't recommend this game for little children, as it would be discouraging, as when they fall down, we pick them up to encourage them to keep trying this game that continues to knock you down, making it harder each time. This, first of all, sounds like it was made by a 5-year-old. I couldn't understand anything. How is the game too hard? And it's too violent? What? That doesn't make any sense at all. This review is probably one of the worst reviews I've ever seen in my entire life. Obviously, I'm not going to show any of the reviewers' names, for privacy's sake or whatever. But this review it's something, man. This review is really awesome. I like it. Anyway, guys, we guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoy looking at bad Skylanders reviews. And there's a lot of them as well. There's quite a lot. But anyway, guys, if you guys have enjoyed this video, and thank you guys for watching.